This is a YouTuber named MrBeast, and he almost got cancelled for building 100 wells in Africa. A little while ago, he almost got cancelled again for giving sight to 1,000 people. On top of that, he has an entire philanthropy channel where all proceeds go to charity. I mean, this guy will not learn from his lesson. So you might ask, why does he keep on asking for social unaliving? It is simply because he enjoys seeing the expressions of excitement and gratitude on the faces of those he helps. He then figures that if he loves to see these expressions, obviously hundreds of millions of people would love to see them too. So he shares the stories, which make him money, which he then uses to recreate those same expressions on thousands of more people, and the cycle goes on and on. Completely wholesome, right? Which begs the question, why do people hate him for this exact reason? It's because he represents what is referred to as a white savior. A white savior is a cinematic trope in which a white character rescues people of color from their plight. White saviorism is an ideology based on this trope where a white person acts upon a position of superiority to rescue BIPOC. A famous example that is given is the Christian or humanitarian missionaries that go to places like Africa on charity tourism and take pictures with that one kid with the fly on his top lip. On a shallow level, I have understood why people do not like this trope. It reinforces the belief that the white man as a collective is a savior and entirely good, which is not true about any group. People have the capacity, regardless of their grouping, to do both good and evil. But for the sake of this video, I decided to do a little more reading and found that these are the major reasons why the white savior has such bad PR. Number one is that he helps to feel better about himself and not necessarily for the people he is helping. Number two is that he acts from a position of superiority. Number three is that he believes that he knows best. And number four is that his plans are never holistic, but rather just band-aids. As I was researching, I found that the white savior is a product of an emotion that we are all capable of: pity. The feeling of sorrow and compassion caused by the suffering and misfortunes of others. In this video, are humans good or evil? I highlight that humans are neither good nor evil. They act according to their values. We act according to what makes us feel good or what makes us view ourselves in a positive light. Compassion is also deeply rooted in human nature. That means if you see someone suffering, you'll feel horrible about it and want to help if it be in your means. When someone is suffering, you feel uncomfortable. So when you help them, you're not necessarily helping for their sake, but you're helping to make yourself feel comfortable again. We help other people for the very selfish reason of putting ourselves at ease. It sounds bad until you realize that the lack of this uncomfortable feeling is what is called psychopathy. We value our own comfort, and so we help others in order to stay comfortable. On top of that, from the outside looking in, the white community really prioritizes the journey of finding yourself. And this usually happens when people decide to take their gap years. And one of the best ways to do this is through service. And because it is so common in that community, they have entire programs to help them get to what I refer to as service pools. These are places like Africa, South America, the Asias. And I think if every community had access or knowledge about these programs wouldn't be seen as white, because I believe a lot of people would take up the opportunity to help. Seeing that feeling good about yourself after helping your fellow human proved so important that it stood the test of evolution, proves that it's not a white thing or something for a specific group, but simply an act of humanity. Believe it or not, each one of us, depending on the situation or topic, are either, for lack of better terms, inferior or superior. On July 2nd, 1964, the Civil Rights Act, championed by Martin Luther King, was signed into law, guaranteeing equal access to public facilities, to end segregation in education, and to provide federal protection of the right to vote. Considering people of color were the minority and had less influence and power, do you want to know how this was possible? It is because JFK pushed for the act in Congress before he passed, and then President Johnson, who came after him, signed it into law. In any given situation, if the oppressed has no one supporting them from the oppressor's side, or simply someone with equal power or influence, the chances of success for the oppressed are slim to none. And this concept is not sadistic, but simply a law of human society. We see it all around us. The quickest example I can give is teachers before Google. They were our white saviors. They possessed information that you you needed. That made them your superiors, because in that field of study or in that subject, they are higher quality. And the only way to get that knowledge was by them willingly giving it to you so that they can help you get to their rank or level. The greatest example of this concept that I can give is the BTS ARMY. By far one of the biggest portrayals of the white savior that I know. For those who don't know, BTS is a 7-member boy band from South Korea, and their fan base is known as ARMY. They went from a small company in a small country to becoming one of the biggest acts in music history, dominating a market that they had no power in to begin with. Why did this happen? The BTS ARMY. As I said before, the underdogs need someone on the oppressor's side, or someone with equal footing as the oppressor. In this case, they had no influence in the music industry itself, which was on radios or with producers. But they had the one thing that makes the music industry valid: fans, and millions of them. There is a saying that goes, the enemy without can do no harm if there is no enemy within. This is neither a negative nor a positive. But in this scenario, the BTS ARMY were the enemies within the power structure. And things changed because people on the oppressor's side decided to side with the oppressed. They requested that their songs be played on radio, their concerts be held in stadiums. They made their songs go viral in record time, and they initiated more fans. When they got to the top award ceremonies, the industry itself was shocked by their popularity. Those very fans made them the biggest band and individual acts in the world. If you are pushed off a cliff and are now dangling for survival, you need someone on top of the very cliff to help you up. And so, depending on the situation, we ourselves become the oppressor or the oppressed. But understanding that superiority or inferiority is situational is the most important thing, and not to view oneself as an overall superior or inferior. No one is. Just because you are the one enduring the pain of a broken leg does not mean you know how to fix it. There's this concept that the people who are going through the problem are the ones who would know best how to fix it, which is not entirely true. I was reading this story about a girl who was in cooking class and she accidentally got molten sugar on her hand. Her instincts told her to immediately lick it off. In the process, she ended up inhaling it and burning a hole in her windpipe. So yes, you may have the injury, but there are people who have years and years of research and experiments and experience dealing with millions of people with the same injury and have been trying to perfect the art of fixing that very injury. That is the reason we have doctors, engineers, different professions. Apart from the white savior trope looking like all these professions, the more I look at it, the more it resembles a relationship that each and every one of us has had or have. They act from a position of superiority. They feel good about themselves when they help you, and they feel they know best. This is the relationship most people have with their parents. I believe the reason we notice this trope more is because it crosses not only economic but also very large physical barriers or borders and ethnicities. It is simply more noticeable. But the truth of the matter is this dynamic happens in everyday life. Because the white savior is a product of pity, it is very common for the pitier to develop a parental attachment to the pitied. And one major characteristic of this attachment is that you feel you know best. Because in this situation, the savior is in a better position. And just like I mentioned with BTS and their fandom, if you look through the comments, it is very much a parental feeling. You will often see comments like, "I'm so proud of our boys. We're so proud of you. Just take care of yourself. We love you no matter what." Everyone that has technically observed BTS and BTS themselves highlight one specific fact: their fans raised them. That's a direct quote. And they continuously say things to their fans like, "Continue to look after us." But the problem that people have with this attachment is the problem that all parents come to, which is realizing that they don't always know best. They have different values, different strengths, even different definitions of what success or happiness looks like. So to move forward in a positive manner means to work together. This is a tough situation for any parent to accept. But just like every good doctor to patient or parent to child relationship, the patient directs the doctor on exactly where the problem is, and the doctor figures out the best methods of treatment and then discusses them with the patient so that they can come to a comfortable conclusion. People People hate white saviorism because it is not holistic. It doesn't fix the systemic issues that cause the problems that they are masking. So basically, people hate it because it mimics first aid. Most saviors are people just like you and me, not governments, but they are also just products of the systems that bred them, meaning they don't have the expertise, but they are simply performing the first aid of charity, which is food, water, and shelter. Then they hand the patient over to the hospital system, a system that's supposed to have the expertise. You cannot stop someone from giving food to someone starving to death because they should instead be fixing the food crisis in the entire nation. Because if we do that, then we have to ask the question, should we demonize first aid because the hospital systems are trash? The problems people ask the average savior to take care of are usually bigger than themselves as well. You are literally demanding brain surgery from someone who was taught chest compressions. Regardless of how MrBeast and his team would have executed this, people would have had a problem with it. People had a problem with the fact that his solutions didn't go deeper. The fact that he went there and did it himself, because it reinforces the belief that people who look like him are the saviors. But if he did go the holistic route, it would have been inevitable to question certain aspects of culture, because they play a role too in how the community progresses. And wouldn't people have had a field day with that? And if he did engage the governments because they knew better, and I know what you're thinking, let's even say corruption is not a factor. The amount of bureaucracies this money would have had to fund would have been endless. They would have had to book the venues where they would have to discuss how this money would be spent. They would need to give allowances to the people who are sitting to discuss these issues. They needed to buy food for the 2-week-long conference. By the time this entire process was over, this video would have been named MrBeast Builds a Well in Africa. And this is a sentiment he expresses well in the end of the video.
Lives have been saved, families will come together, the worries will be gone.
The 100 wells we built in this video will change a lot of lives, but not enough. Which is why before you go, I want to urge you all to go to beastphilanthropy.org/wells or click the link in the description and donate money if possible. We're literally not profiting a dime off this video. 100% of the money we raise is going to go towards building more wells like you saw in this video all around the globe. I know it's weird that a YouTuber has to do all this stuff, but someone's got to do it, and if no one else is, we're going to do it. As you can tell, it really does change the lives of the communities where we build them.
He and his team are not working as a skin color or a government or a country, but they are simply people who are helping and are asking other people to help as well. So the next time we see someone from one group exercising empathy towards someone in another group, I hope we do not demonize them for simply being human. As always, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's really important, guys. Let's get my grandmother some dentures, and I will see you in the next video.